Hi everyone, good morning. Alright, so you are currently in week 6 lecture. Okay, so if you still remember, during the tutorial classes, I have continued with chapter 4. So today, the plan for today lecture class is I will proceed with chapter 4 because we haven't completed the chapter yet. Okay, on the topic selection. So today I will continue with that chapter, and also at the end of this class, okay, before we complete the class, because this class is 1 hour, 8:30 to 9:30. So before I complete the class today, you need to do the tutorial questions. Okay, and the tutorial questions is available in the e-learn, and it will be only available within this minute lah, 15 minutes. I open it from 9:15 to 9:30. Okay, so you have to answer it during this time. So this one is on in order to capture your attendance. All right. Okay, so let's proceed with the chapter 4 topic selection. Okay, so this week, actually during the tutorial classes, I have explained to you again on the definition of selection. Okay, again, I have highlighted that selection is the process of choosing, and these are the 7 environmental factors that affect the selection process. Okay, so if let's say one day, we don't know, maybe you are working in a human resource department and your manager assign you to in charge on recruitment and selection. So these are some of the important tasks that you should focus in. Okay, so these 7 factors will affect the selection process, and I also have explained to you this process. Okay, the selection process. So the selection process, it starts from preliminary screening. So it's just like a touch and go process where you just screen the resume, but it's just like a very general screening. Okay, and then you review the application, the resume of the candidates, and then you call them to sit for the test, interview, until you select, you choose the best employee to hold the position. Okay, so during the tutorial classes also I have explained the steps. Okay, so the step, as I mentioned, start from preliminary screening. Those who being successfully the qualification seems to fit with the position, they will be go to the second step, which is reviewing the application form and resume. So I also have explained to you on this application form and resume, and their resume is comprehensive, it's according to the standard format, and then the experience in terms of skill also fit with the job. They will be called to sit for the test. Okay, so I have explained to you, if let's say organization, they would like to conduct tests. Okay, so they must fulfill these 5 characteristics in their test. So they are, later on I will guide you. Okay, there are 6 types of tests. So it depends on position. So as I mentioned before this, some companies, for different position, they will have different selection process. Okay, so maybe for this position, they want to conduct tests, but not for other position. Let's say for a position as admin assistant, they don't want to conduct tests. But for a position as a manager, they want to conduct the tests. So it depends on company practices. Okay, different position, they can come up with a test. But if let's say the company, they identify, okay, they feel that they want to conduct tests, so these are the characteristics. And as I mentioned before this, characteristics number 4 and also number 5 is very, very important. Okay, so reliability, company is focusing on high reliability. So if the company conduct the test few times, they expect the result should be consistent. Okay, the same result. So the example that I provide to you is, let's say I conduct quiz. Last week I conduct quiz, and also this week also I conduct quiz. The quiz questions is similar. So if you're able to score the same score, high reliability. If let's say different score, then it shows low reliability. Validity, the question must be related to the job. So let's say you are hiring a IT manager. So the question must be related to IT. Okay, so these are the two important characteristics. All right, so this one I have explained to you together with the example that I show the situation where the case is reliable but not valid, and the situation where both reliable and validity is on the test. Okay, so today let's see on these 6 types of tests. Okay, so these are the 6 employment tests that company can implement, they can use, and they also can decide to use a combinations of more than one test. All right, so let's see one by one. Okay, the first one is cognitive aptitude test. Okay, or we also call it as IQ test. So company that use cognitive aptitude test, they will test the candidate more on general question, just to test their IQ. For example, let's say on verbal fluency. For example, let's say this company, it's an entertainment company. Let's say radio, they have their own company, have their own channel, radio. So they would like to hire a DJ announcer, okay, radio announcer. So during the test, they call the candidate, they give like a news or a statement and ask them to read this statement, this news, just to check how fluent they are in order to communicate. Because I mean, radio announcer, even a news announcer also, when they read the news, it must be clear. Okay, so this is more on general tests, IQ test. Same goes with other positions. Some position, for example, let's say like factory workers. Factory workers, when they or some factory, right, when they choose their factory workers, or especially the operators, those who are handling machines, they will give this candidate mathematics test. All right, so they will give them tests, at least a basic test, a basic mathematics test. Okay, they know how to add on, to minus, okay, subtraction, to divide and so on, because they need to know about the quantity. Quantity is very important in the production line. So this is under cognitive aptitude test. Okay, that company might able to use. The second test will be psychomotor ability test. So psychomotor, it's more on physical movement test. All right, so this one involve physical movement test. So if you see measure strength, coordination, dexterity, use hand required to perform complex or physical job. So any jobs that require to use hand, company can decide to conduct this test for their candidates. For example, if you can see from this image, let's say they want to hire a mechanic for the company. So let's say they have around 4 candidates. So these 4 candidates, they call them, they will give a engine, maybe a car engine. They will say, okay, fix it. Identify the problem and then fix it. Because why? The nature of the job requires movement, especially for them to use hand. Okay, it's a physical job that that candidates need to do. Okay, so it depends. If let's say admin assistant, is it suitable for you to use psychomotor test? No, because admin task, it's more on administration management part. Okay, where you need to, yes, you need to type, to know how to type everything, but more on content base. Okay, to perform the job. Okay, so this is the second psychomotor ability test. The third one is job knowledge test, and this is the most common type of employment test that company will use. So this one measure candidate knowledge of duties of position for which he or she is applying. Example of job knowledge tests include tests of basic accounting principles, computer programming, financial management, and knowledge of contract law. So this knowledge, job knowledge test, they will give the candidate the test which is related to the job. As I mentioned just now, if you give the test related to the job, it shows that the test have a high validity. Remember just now the characteristic? high validity. So let's say you're going to hire accounting assistant. So you give them some basic accounting principles question, debit, credit, financial statement, everything. Okay, and ask them to solve the case or to solve the question. That is job knowledge test. So if let's say like me, I am, because when first I joined Sunway, Mr. Gobi hired me to teach for human resource and organizational behavior subject, more on management subject. So they also conduct tests. They test me on mock teaching. They ask me to teach on management subject. Okay, so they give me tests, but the test is related to my field. They cannot assign me, okay, can you teach accounts or can you teach IT subject? No. Okay, so job knowledge test based on the candidates, what the jobs that they apply for. All right, and then number 4 is work sample test. Okay, this one require an applicant to perform, excuse me, to perform a task representative of the job. Let me highlight this one. Representative of the job. Okay, what does it mean by work sample test? During the test, the organization, they can only test the candidate on a specific task. For example, let's say I am working as a lecturer. As a lecturer, we have few tasks to be completed. Okay, for example, the main job is to teach student. At the same time, we need to prepare exam question. We need to do marking, exam question, assignments, everything. We need to conduct invigilation, and then we need to do some marketing activities, some administration activities, all this. So these are my tasks, my job. But during the test, definitely it doesn't make sense for the company or for the manager to test me all the tasks, all the jobs. How come they want to test me on teaching, on preparing exam question, on invigilation, on marking assignment? Cannot. Because if you, for one candidate, if you want to test all this job, I think it will require 1 week, 2 weeks just for one candidate. So you just imagine it takes more time, right? So cannot. So under work sample, what company can do is they just test the candidate on one main job. So let's say my main job as a lecturer is teaching, so they test me on teaching. Same goes for other positions. So for example, let's say you are going for an interview or going for a test, to sit for a test to apply as a customer service position. So customer service, as we know, the main job is to communicate with customer. So they experience a problem, they need to communicate. So the company can test them on this. As a customer service, they also have other tasks to do, but the main job is what? So this is work sample. Require an applicant to perform a task representative. So we have a representative, a few parts that we need to complete for the job. Okay, but the company can only test one, which is the main job. So this is work sample, which is quite commonly used by the organization. And then number 5 is vocational interest. This one indicate the occupation a person most interested. Okay, occupation a person is most interested in, and that will likely provide satisfaction. However, having interest in a job and being able to effectively perform it may not be the same. So for example, a person may have an interest in being a brain surgeon, but not the aptitude or talent for it. Okay, for example, let's say you went for a test. Okay, during the test, the company asks you, okay, you apply for a HR position, but under HR, human resource, we have few functions. So which functions that you prefer in? So you said that I prefer on recruitment and selection. Okay, I prefer to contact people, to call for an interview, to arrange on this recruitment and selection process. So the company said, okay, all right. So if you prefer on recruitment and selection, I will test you on this recruitment and selection. So if you're able to answer the test effectively, efficiently, then it shows that you are not only have the interest, but you also can perform. But if you have the interest, you cannot perform, then it shows that actually you cannot perform lah. You just like the job, but actually you cannot do. So some company, they will conduct vocational interest. Okay, maybe at the first stage, they will conduct interview first. Just a very basic interview, they will ask you, okay, which function that you prefer. So if you say like this example, as a doctor, they ask, okay, you prefer which surgeon? Okay, and this person said a brain. But when they want to test this individual to do a brain surgeon, actually she can't. Okay, so this one also under vocational interest, but because some company, they believe that let the employee do whatever that they like, but it doesn't mean that if you like, you can perform actually. Okay, so this one also another type of test that company can conduct. And the last one is personality test. So this is the quite common in order to know what kind of personality. So you see, measure of traits to know the characteristics. Okay, so personality tests do not measure ability or specific problem solving skill. Does not. This questionnaire tap into softer areas such as leadership, teamwork, personal assertiveness. So if let's say they want to hire a manager, manager should have a very good leadership skill. Okay, so in order to know whether this manager are good in this kind of skill, leadership skill, so they provide this personality test. Because sometimes, as I mentioned before this, during interview, you cannot identify whether this individual, they have these skills or no. Okay, these characteristics or no. So how to confirm it? You can conduct tests, and one of the method to identify the individual characteristics, personality, you can conduct personality tests. Okay, I will say some companies, they will conduct this personality test for all of the position. So I have attended one interview for this one company as a lecturer. During before I went for an interview, they give me this personality test questionnaire. Okay, so they just want to see my characteristics, because they believe that in dealing with students also, the emotions of the lecturer, the characteristics must be, I mean, definitely we should have a good characteristic, professionalism lah. So that's why they provide. So I answered all the questionnaire, and then only I go for an interview. Because personality test, I think around 3 to 4 pages only. So just answer quickly. Okay, you just tick the column, and then you pass it to them, and then they will call for an interview. Okay, so that is the 6 types of employment tests that company can use. But again, as I mentioned, they can use a combination. So maybe company feel that they want to use personality and also job knowledge test. Yes, they can. So they give questionnaire on this personality test, and then they conduct tests on job knowledge. All right, so that is the 6 types of tests. Other than this, some companies, they also use some unique types of testing. Okay, unique types of testing. We have 2 types of unique. We call it as unique because not all company and not all country are using this. Okay, and this is quite special. So we call it as, the first one is grapho analysis. This is the first one. Unique, or handwriting analysis. Many people view handwriting analysis in same context as psychic reading or astrology. So handwriting analysis. So for example, during the test, the company or the manager will ask you to, they will give you maybe one question, let's say like essay, or maybe they will just ask you to write about your own self. But they are not going to check on the content. They are going to read on your handwriting, because they believe handwriting also will represent a personality. Okay, maybe those I believe that maybe Malaysian students, you know lah, this person in Malaysia, he's quite famous, Datuk Dr. Fazilah Kamsah. He's very good in reading handwriting, individual handwriting. Okay, so he said that, okay, if let's say your handwriting squid to the left or squid to the right, what kind of characteristics you are in. But again, I would say that this one also, it depends, because some people, it depends on your emotions as well. If let's say today you have a very good emotion, your handwriting tend to be neat. Okay, maybe straight or maybe a bit to the right or a bit to the left. Okay, so that is another methods that company can use to check on personality. The second one is polygraph test. Maybe you have heard about this. We call it also as lie detector test. So they want to make sure that the candidates are telling all the correct information. So they will put this polygraph test. So they will check this on a heartbeat. So they will put some equipment on your pulse. Okay, on your pulse. And then the manager will start to ask question. Okay, normally police lah, they will use this to investigate something. So they will put something on the pulse. In Malaysia, we don't use, I think for now, no more. But country like Japan, Korea, yes, they use this. Those who love to watch Korean movie, maybe you have seen this. Okay, sometimes they will use this to conduct investigation. Let's say the employees have done some misconduct in the company. So they want to investigate who did the wrong thing, who's doing this. So they just conduct this polygraph test. Okay, put the equipment on the pulse and they start to ask questions. So if let's say you are because they believe that if you're telling lie, your heartbeat will increase. So when it's increasing actually, so the machine will make some sound lah. So they know, oh, okay, this question you are not telling correctly. Okay, so this is polygraph test. But again, as I mentioned, that's why we call it as unique form of testing, because not being implemented by majority of the organization. Okay. All right. Next one is the employment interview. So of course, once you have sit for the test, the fourth step is interview. And during the interview, the company would like to know about your experience, about your academic achievement, about your personal characteristics, okay, interpersonal skills, okay, about your personal qualities. Are you good in leadership? Are you good in time management? Okay, and you as an interviewee, you also can ask question to the interviewer. The interviewer will be manager, you interviewee as a candidate. So you can ask the question. Normally at the end of the interview session, the manager will ask you, okay, do you have any question to ask us? So you can ask about the company, you can ask about the job, you can ask about the expectation. What did the company expect if you get the job? But don't ask them lah, when can I start the job? Because they haven't finalized yet, right? Okay, so this is on the interview. And if you remember, these are the three types of interview that company can use. Actually, I have explained it briefly when I explained to you on the individual assignment. Because for your individual assignment, you have to use this on the types of interview. So we have three types: unstructured, structured, and also behavioral. Okay, so what is unstructured? Ask open-ended question. The question require the applicants or the candidates to explain further. For example, tell me about yourself. That is open-ended question. Okay, because you cannot give the answer yes or no. You should explain. So my name is blah, blah, blah. Okay, I am previously, this is my working experience. So that is open-ended question. So encourage applicant to do much of the talking, because company, why they use unstructured? Because they would like to get as many information as they can about this candidate. Okay, but it is time consuming, because some candidate, for those especially the experience, right, it's quite lengthy. They tend to share, okay, I have been working with this company for 15 years. Okay, I'm doing this. So it's quite time consuming. Okay, but potential legal issue. Do you remember on the environmental factors that company need to consider when they do selection process on legal, right? Especially on the interview question. So please don't ask all the sensitive question, because during this part, right, especially unstructured interview, the interviewer will ask question. They don't have a specific question. They will just ask question based on the candidate answer. For example, oh, just now you mentioned you work in this company, you are doing this job, right? Oh, can you explain further about this job? So that is unstructured. They don't have a specific question to be asked. So potential for the interviewer or for the manager to ask question might be not related, might be sensitive, is very high. So they should control on this. Okay, so that is the first type. Second type of interview is structured. So as I mentioned, structured question, the interviewer already have a series of questions and this question is fixed. So let's say today got 5 candidates coming for an interview. So all the 5 candidates will be asked with the same question. So you see, series. Okay, series of job related questions asked of each applicant. And you see, increases reliability and accuracy by reducing subjectivity and inconsistency of unstructured interview. This one is quite easy if company use structured, because if let's say all the 5 candidates you are asking the same question, so in order to compare, it's quite easy because you already know, oh, first question, for this first question, candidate number 1 answer this, candidate number 2 answer this, candidate number 3 answer this. So to compare, it's quite easy compared to unstructured, because unstructured, you don't have a specific questions to be asked. I mean, you don't have the same question for all candidates. All right, but again, it's quite limited lah, because you cannot ask something outside. Maybe you can ask different question, but it's quite limited. Okay, let's say these are the 10 standard question. Maybe you can add on one, but not most of the question. You still have to follow the format. All right, and then the last type is behavioral interview. So this one, behavioral questions prompt applicants to relate actual incident relevant to target job. So you give a situation to the candidates, okay, normally challenging situation, you see, and candidate need to answer how they solve that situation. So if you see example, describe a situation where you were responsible for motivating others. So maybe this kind of question is suitable for leader, for manager. Okay, because manager, they need to motivate the employee, right? Those who are unmotivated. So maybe they can ask this kind of question. So by doing this, okay, they able to see how professional the candidates able to solve the case, the situation. So these are the 3 types of interview. Okay, so as I mentioned, it depends. That's why I said for your assignment also, you need to choose at least one. But it is not wrong for company to use a mixture of, let's say, if they want to use both 3, unstructured, structured, and behavioral, yes, they can do so. Okay, but again, it will be time consuming lah, because they are focusing all the 3 types. If they have the number of candidates, if quite limited, for example, they just have 2 candidates for the interview, then maybe they can spend more time. But if let's say they don't have much, the number of candidates quite a lot, then at least they can focus on 1 or 2 only types of interview. Okay, and the last part of this chapter is on this. These are the potential interviewing problem that might happen. So the problem can be from the interviewer. So again, interviewer is the manager who asked the question. Or the problem can also from the interviewee. Interviewee, the candidates, those who attend the interview. So there are around 7 common problems that might happen. The first one is inappropriate question. So this one, as I mentioned just now, the problem is from interviewer. So interviewer might ask question which is not related to the job. So as I mentioned previously, you see the status, the personal details, this employee is 40 years old, single, and then you ask a sarcastic question, why are you still single until this age? Okay, so something which is not relevant to be asked. So this is considered as inappropriate question. Okay, number 2, permitting non-job related information. Okay, this problem is from the interviewee. Okay, so if you see, if candidate begins volunteering personal information not related to job, interviewer should steer conversation back on call. So let's say the first question, the interviewer asked to, okay, can you tell me about yourself? Okay, so the interviewee or the candidate also start to explain, okay, my name is this, my previous working experience is this, but suddenly start to share all the personal information. Oh, I have 5 kids. The first one is 25 years old. Currently, he's working at this. Okay, my younger one is quite cheeky. He's so active. You see, it's not related to the job, right? So as the interviewer, they need to get back to the, so maybe the interviewer should stop lah. So I think that's enough on your personal information. So let's go to the next question. Okay, so this problem also might happen, especially for a friendly candidate where they cannot stop to share information. All right. And then the third problem is premature judgment. This problem, it's from the interviewer, or we call it as a first impression judgment. So interviewer often make judgment about candidate in the first few minutes. For example, let's say this candidate come for an interview. So he looks so professional, the way he dressed up. So the interviewer might think, oh, I think this is the best people. This is the best candidate. Okay, without start the interview itself. Or maybe some candidate, they're mentally, some interviewer, right? They feel that, for example, they go through your resume. Oh, from university, from Canada, or from US. Oh, I think this is the best candidate. International, the degree is from, not from Malaysia. Okay, so I think this is the best candidate. So that is first premature judgment, first impression judgment. They might have the judgment before they start to conduct the interview. Okay, but definitely the conclusion part is after the interview lah. Okay, they need to make the conclude, to summarize this candidate should be done after the interview completed. All right, and then another problem is interviewer domination. Okay, this one also another problem. You see, relevant information must flow both ways. So, definitely, because in the interview, the main aim is to get as much information about the candidate job's previous experience, qualification. But if most of the time, the manager, the interviewer is the one who is talking. Okay, so how do you want to get the information? All right, so for example, let's say when the first question, the interviewer asks, okay, tell me about yourself. Okay, so you also said, oh, my name is this Nurul Aini, I am from Kedah, or from Sungai Petani. Oh, you are from Sungai Petani. Oh, I also from Sungai Petani. You know what area? You see, interviewer tried to dominate the situation. And most of the time, interviewer, the manager is the one who do much talking. Oh, some people, some manager, they try to show that they are very good, okay, to impress the candidate. You know what? I, as a manager, I never do this to my employee. You know how I handle situation? I do this. So that also might happen, okay, to show that maybe the interviewer want to show that he is friendly, or maybe he wants to show that it's a very good employee, good staff, okay, to the candidates. All right, other problem number 5 is contrast effect. So this one, error in judgment may occur when interviewer meets with several poorly qualified applicants and then confronts a mediocre candidate. Okay, this one, they try to make judgment. For example, let's say today 4 candidates come for an interview. The first and the second candidate, it's so bad. They not even can answer correctly. So the interviewer summarize, okay, today the whole candidate, all the candidates cannot, we have to reject. So they already make a judgment. Just because of the few poorly qualified applicant, they assume that all the candidates, all the applicants are poor. So this is contrast effect. They try to compare with the previous candidate. The problem is, normally the problem is if the second candidate is poor. Okay, so maybe at the third candidate, normally the interviewer motivation will drop. They will assume that, I think no lah, today all the candidates is so poor. But if let's say the first candidate and the second candidate, they perform very well, so the interviewer motivation also will be so, like they are so energetic. Oh, I can't wait to see the number 3 candidate. Okay, how they are performing. But if number 1, number 2 very poor, very bad, then it also will affect. All right. And then the next problem is lack of training. This one, the interviewer, actually those who are conducting interview, they should be sent to training. Okay, so I'm not sure Sunway, does the head of department, they attend training or not. But when I study human resource, okay, they said interviewer, especially manager who are conducting the interview, they should be sent to training. Okay, so what kind of training? They need to know how to ask, in what kind of questions that they should ask. And then they also have a specific, we call it as tone, intonation, how they should ask the question. So if you see, tell me about yourself. So start with the very polite way, okay? And then if you ask, tell me about yourself, what are the expected answer that you want? Some interviewer, okay, when they ask question, tell me about yourself, they don't want you to summarize everything in the resume, because they feel that, oh, I can read your resume. You don't need to tell me your name, your experience, I can see. Tell something which is not in your resume about your personal qualities. Okay, so they need to know what they are expected from all the questions. So that's why training is very important for the manager. They should know what question, what are the expected answer that they would like to know. All right, and then the last problem will be non-verbal communication. So you see, this is a body language problem. Body language is non-verbal communication. So in which physical actions such as gestures, facial expression convey thought and emotion. So sometimes the facial expression of the interviewer also might affect how the interviewee or how the candidates answer the question. So for example, let's say the interviewer, okay, the manager asks question, okay, can you tell me your previous working experience? What have you done before this? So you also start to explain, but when you start to explain, suddenly the interviewer, they give you this kind of expression. You see this image? Okay, like bored, like not interested to listen. So when you want to explain also, you like, whether should I proceed or should I stop? Okay, so that's the problem. It can cut the good conversation between two people. So body language is very important, not only for the interviewer, but also as an interviewee. So as an interviewee, we need to know you cannot cross leg. Okay, so in terms of sitting also, it should be proper, where you should place your back. Okay, so it's very important. Okay, your eye contact. If let's say you are so scared to look at the interviewer eye, okay, at least you should look at the eye area, maybe on the forehead, on the nose, or maybe on the on that interviewer mouth. Some people, they quite scared to do eye contact, so never mind, at least you look on the mouth, okay, on their lips. So this one also is the body language, which is very important. Don't like every time when you answer, you look at the ceiling or you look on the floor, or even the interviewer also, the eye contact must be very good. They cannot stare you, x-ray you up and down. You feel uncomfortable, you just feel like, oh, can we just complete this interview? I don't like it. All right, so that will be the 7 problems that might happen, okay, during the interviewing. So the problem can be from the interviewer and also the interviewee, but most of the problem that been highlighted here is from the interviewer. And once the interview done, conclude lah the interview. So when interviewer has obtained necessary information and answered applicant's question, he or she could conclude the interview. So tell applicant that he or she will be notified of the selection decision shortly. Management must then determine whether candidate is suitable for the open position and organization. Okay, so just inform the candidates that they will be called shortly. So if you are being selected, you will be called. Normally, those who are being selected only will be called lah. Those who are being rejected, most of the time the company will not contact. So you know lah, after let's say you have been waiting after 2 weeks or 1 month, 2 months, no call from the company, so we know. But there is no wrong for you to contact the company to get the status. But please don't after 1 day lah. Give them at least 2 weeks time. Okay, so maybe you can just call to get the updates. Can I get the updates? Okay, what's my status? Because I haven't been interviewed for the past 2 weeks. So it's not wrong. You can call them or you can just send an email. All right. Okay, so these are the steps actually on the selection process. So again, as I mentioned, different company, the steps will be slightly different, but this is the main one, general one. Okay, they need to conduct a reviewing resume, test, interview. All right, so if you have any question, you can ask me. Okay, and now what I want you all to do is, okay, hold on, yeah. Okay, so we have completed with this chapter 4, topic selection. So what I want you to do is, okay, go to your eLearn. Okay, go to your eLearn and click. Okay, go to your eLearn, subject, human resource management, and then go to tutorial questions here, class activity, tutorial questions. All right, and then you can see, where's it just now? You can see here, later on I will upload tutorial for selection. Okay, so please answer it. I will open for 15 minutes before the class end. So your attendance also will be tracked from there. Okay, so you can see here tutorial for selection. I will upload because I think I haven't named it yet. Okay, so tutorial for selection. There are 10 MCQ questions on this topic. So I want you to do it, and I will also able to know who have done, who have not done. So from there, I able to track the attendance. All right. So that's all for today class. So you can start to do your quiz now. So not quiz, sorry, it's a tutorial. All right. And any question on your assignments or everything, please update me. And also, I have not received the grouping list yet for your integrated assignment. Okay, so please do so. Update in the WhatsApp group. I need to know who already have a group member, who don't. And any questions, you can always WhatsApp me. Okay, so you can start to do now the tutorial. I allocate around 15 minutes for 10 questions, but actually it's more. Okay, the time is quite, I think you can even finish within 10 minutes. Okay, so you can start to do now. No password. All right, so see you next week, everyone. Take care. Bye. Have a nice day, class.